Hello everybody. My name is Anders. I'm from Heimdal Security. I'm a stand-in for my colleague Mikkel Pedersen, who was the originally booked speaker for today. Unfortunately, there's a pandemic going on, so I will be the stand-in for Mikkel, and I'm very sorry I couldn't go to be there live. I'm told it's a huge event. I will give you a run-through of a credit card scamming campaign that we uncovered, and a little bit about the details of the campaign, and to show you a little bit about how we work with this stuff, and what actually goes on behind the scenes of such a campaign. Just give you a quick brief phrase of Heimdal Security. Heimdal was founded after our original owner, CISO, sent a team to participate in the DEF CON Capture the Flag World Championships in Las Vegas in 2011. The team won the competition as the first European team ever to win a Capture the Flag competition, which is all about stealing data from other people and ensuring that they can't steal it back. And the guy who has the data and the most data at the end of the timer wins the competition. We then went back with a team in 2012 and we won again. So the first time we won as the first European team, and the second time we won back to back. Now, since then, a lot of things have happened at Heimdal, and our owners quickly caught on that these guys that were doing this technology to win the Capture the Flag were onto something that could be commercialized. And this since developed into a product line that was launched originally in 2014. And the original products in Heimdal were all in the prevention category, based off of these concepts from DEF CON Capture the Flag. And they're still the staple of our offerings today. But we've since added a lot of other functionalities into the same single agent, enabling our customers to respond to threats quicker and to ensure policy compliance and prevent lateral movements in the network, for instance. So going from a pure prevention vendor into also detecting and responding to the attacks has been our journey. And we've since developed the concept even further, that we now have specialists sitting monitoring stuff going on in the background, alerting our customers if something is there to be alerted on. And it's from that team that this story originates. So I hope you enjoy the story here, and that if you have some Q&A, well, I am part of the users, so to say. Mikkel, who was supposed to attend, is actually our enablement manager. So he does a lot of internal training, and the content actually is part of what we teach our sales core, our technical core, our support core in our internal training to be aware of, so that we can better advise our customers. Actually, I had to go into the blog as well. There you can on this site you can find a lot of details about this story, but you can also find details about other stuff that we've uncovered going through the journey of being an IT security vendor, and all of the aspects that we see on a regular basis that we feel that you need to be very much aware of. The blog has been named one of Europe's most educational cybersecurity blogs, and I advise a lot of customers and partners on a regular basis on some very technical stuff. And I have to sometimes also keep tabs with the blog to make sure that all of the technical stuff that I'm receiving from my associates in enablement and in the red teams and so on, that I actually interpret that into, well, human talk, if you could, so to say. Right. So into the C3 phishing campaign and our findings. C3 phishing campaign, so C3 meaning credit card credentials phishing campaign. I'll walk you through a pre-phase, and then our discovery and research phase, and a little bit about the analysis phase, and also what happened afterwards, and some general advice that we feel at Heimdal that you need to be aware of. So first of all, the C3 phishing campaign is a phishing campaign. Now, we all know phishing. We all know that there are all of these mails that hit our inboxes on a regular levels that try to pose as being something that they're not. So on this slide here, you should be able to see some of the most commonly used C3 phishing brands. So the hackers know that we have a relationship to these, and we know that it is very low touch, low investment for a lot of it, especially if it happens on a high stress scenario, quick in, quick out with an email. So the most leveraged are, of course, postal and delivery services, meaning there's a package for you. Please click here to ensure that we make the right delivery or whatnot. It could be government, tax, and customs. So for clearing the tax documents or for ensuring that you have paid the correct amount of customs, or even it could be a payback because we need to pay back a small difference in the payments that you've previously made. Or it could also be high-end consumer brands that we know are being used and that we know that we can easily emulate and make sure that the recipient has a lower degree of certainty in analyzing what is actually going on. In this particular campaign, it was a campaign that was based around GLS, and the scammers managed to lift more than 3,000 credit cards. And I've been working with IT security for more than 10 years, and it never ceases to amaze me that these succeed, because when I look at phishing campaigns that hit my own inbox, it's pretty clear that it's phishing, and I know the general rules of thumb that we'll get around to in the end. And I can't see why credit cards could be lifted, but it is clear that it works, and it is very clear that it works because it goes on in ever more increasing scale. So this is the email that hits the inbox, and this is a Danish email in Danish writing. So we're not that far apart in terms of language, but we added the English translation to the left-hand side. And as for phishing mails go, this email is actually not that easy to spot as phishing in terms of reading it as a recipient. Now, the typical phishing mail has a lot of stress language in there. You need to do this, you need to do it quickly, or you need to take action to prevent a loss or avoid something. This one doesn't really have that. Now, it has a do not reply, please. It has a please click on this link. And it has a notification that there will be delivered as soon as you've paid the remainder of the cost, which is a very small amount to ease the, shall we say, resistance to click or to look at this. It also uses the brand to a pretty good extent. Now, the first hint is, of course, you can see the sender, but sometimes that can be spoofed, and then it's not that easy to spot. So, of course, you need to have some more knowledge about how to work with these items as you go along. But the quick recipient looking at it and in an, let's say, an iPad or whatnot, might not be aware of the initial sender email address, will look at the email, go, yeah, okay, that makes sense. And I'm actually, we get a lot of deliveries from GLS. Let's go. So you will click the link. And on this instance, a lot of people have clicked the link. So what we then see is that we will come to a very, very simple tracking notification site. Now, the hint is, of course, in the top there, but you can see we are on a GLS kind of sort of domain, gls-tracking.-dk.webapp. And you can click continue. Now there's a nice little picture of your package, and it's a small amount. So a lot of people end up continue. So on hitting continue, we can see that the language changes. Now it's an English phrasing. So there's another side that this might not be a completely legitimate flow here. Now, I would assume that GLS or PostNord or any other in that region would actually take the steps to make sure that the customer experience and the customer journey follows that same single language that you know that the customer is on. You can even see it says Denmark here. But the language changed. And now you can put in your credit card number and all of these details. And it's very simple, and you can just hit pay. But let's back up a little bit. Why wasn't the email caught by the spam filter? Because spam filters are very well developed these days, and they're supposed to be doing pretty well in terms of detecting phishing or common sense spam. Well, in this case, and in many new cases that we're seeing in the phishing and spam usage at the moment, the attackers are using the span tag. So HTML tag span to break up the text into unreadable pieces. So something that a natural language processing filter or engine inside a spam filter will look for these phrases. It will look for sense of urgency. It will look for cost and payment and stuff like that, and it will rate the mail. But what if we break up that mail into completely unreadable pieces? And in this one, the mail is in itself is broken into pieces that in themselves absolutely make no sense to a natural language processing filter. So when scammers do that, they do it because they want to circumvent any AI-based discovery in the email security solutions that we're all running. You could be running a simple email spam solution. You could be running a very advanced spam solution, and it might not find this email based on the language filter. And there are lots of other methods to find the email, but in this instance, it actually circumvented a lot of different spam filters. So what we did was we figured out that this was going on, and we started taking a closer look into the email. So by extracting the sender IP from the email header, we could trace that this email originated from Kansas in North America. So far, so good. So this means that the Americans are spamming us. Well, we investigated further, and we showed that the correlating DNS name servers were located in California. So now there's a jump from Kansas to California, and this was targeted towards mainly, or actually Denmark alone. So far, so good. We look further into it, and we start working on what happens when we go into the link itself. And this is where it became very interesting. So we figured out that only Danish IP addresses were sent to the hacker website. If you clicked on the link from anywhere outside of Denmark, let's say that I got this email and I sent it to my, I don't know, finance or logistics center, and it was based in Norway, or it was based in the UK, or it was based in Spain, I would be taken to the GLS website. I wouldn't be taken to that specific hacker website. I would be taken to the GLS website. That actually is pretty clever. It makes a lot of sense. You target the campaign towards a geolocation, and you make sure that everybody outside of that geolocation is taken to the standard website to make it harder for GLS to figure out that something's going on, actually. But we figured out that only from Denmark, and we mounted a Danish VPN, and we started working on the site. So when we began looking into the landing page itself, we saw something very odd. We saw that it was based on on something called Firebase, so it was hosted there. And Firebase, if you don't know, is basically a hosting which doesn't allow for any PHP code of any sort or any real backend to speak of. So essentially, it means that this is an app and not a website. But if there's no code, then how did the scammers exploit more than 3,000 unknowing volunteers of credit card numbers? Well, they bought a JavaScript off a public forum for $5. And running a JavaScript off of a public forum for $5 is pretty clever, because it means that you can allow for multiple attacks running at the same time. But also, on the other hand, this helped us identify the scammers. Just by looking into this in further detail, we figured out that this JavaScript was actually leading to what you can see flagged with blue here in the bottom, which is an Telegram API. And Telegram API, well, that's not supposed to be in a GLS code, let's put it like that. So no code, no real backend, just a JavaScript that links to a Telegram API that takes the data. So the script here, basically, the script was designed to extract the card credentials that you put into the web app and then send them on to a Telegram account using the Telegram API. And it looks like this. So you get all the data that you need to exploit that credit card information. You get whatever you're supposed to put into a website whenever you go to that website and you buy something. So your first name, your last name, your credit card number, the expiration date, and the CCV, which is listed as last name again. Now, of course, we've put this up as artificial data only for illustration purposes, so we don't leak anybody's actual credit card number. And I've tried, so it's safe. But that's pretty simple. It's very, very simple. And it's how a lot of these scammers work. But we went a little further. Now we know that there's a Telegram API and we can see the Telegram account in the API. So of course we managed to identify that account. And well, they might be scammers, but they're not necessarily the most clever scammers in the world, because that Telegram chat turned out to be public. So it could be publicly seen if you knew which Telegram account you should look in. We'd also see here on this page here, you can see from the Telegram account that it had 6 subscribers on it. And those, by the way, were the hackers that all subscribed to this. And you can see a lot of information on the account as you go in there. And you can see all of these different credit card numbers that were sent to the chat, basically. We linked it to an address somewhere in Istanbul, Turkey. So we're in Denmark, we follow the IPs to the US, and the Telegram account takes us to Turkey. But this wasn't all we found on the Telegram account. And this is where it gets interesting even more. By mistake, one of the hackers accidentally uploaded a picture to the Telegram account. And we can see now, we've redacted the number plate here, if you can see it on the picture there. But we could see that it's a Turkish license plate that's found in the picture in the chat on that, what looks to be a Mercedes to me anyway, which further enhanced that we knew that this was going on from Turkey, and also put us even further closer to the hackers on there. But yeah, that's just amazing. So let's go here. Iterate. We follow the string of pearls from Denmark to Kansas. And go to Oz. Then it took us to California, and then it took us all the way back to Turkey. Now, that is a very, very simple wrap-up of that attack. And our team, of course, proceeded to then notify the relevant authorities so that we could have them, let's say, reach out to the scammers. And we actually also proceeded to notify, make sure that all victims were notified that their credit account data had been leaked. If we hadn't done so, well, basically, the next step in such an attack is to go to the dark web and put these credit card numbers up for sale. And how much of a price could you get for these? Well, you can get a lot, actually. If you do a simple Google search and say how much worth on the black market, it can be anywhere from $20 to $500. And depending on the knowledge they have of the bank account balance, and so let's say they stole 3,000 credit card numbers here, and they had managed to sell them off. Well, that's a pretty nice payoff that you could get for doing this for an investment of $5 for JavaScript. It's big business, and there's a lot of money in there. And these sites are full of data dumps, of credit card dumps that sell every day. So you might think, well, that's an interesting business. I need to get in on that, or something similar to that. And you would be thinking, well, I would like to see what I get before I buy. Well, fine. These people are professional businessmen. They are merchants. And if you want to do so, you can actually get a sneak peek. You can see exactly what you're buying. They're typically sold in batches of 100s or 1000s. And it's a very, very simple exercise. Much like in Heimdal, we both do business to business and we do business to consumer. And in the business to consumer market, we typically sell our keys in batches of 100s or 1000s. It's basically a click of a button. And now these licenses belong to you. It's the same way here. Now you get credit card numbers with CCV, with everything in there, and all the details that you need to have to exploit them and to abuse them and steal money from other people. So no big deal, just big bucks with prices from $20 to, let's say, $500 per card. That's what we're facing every day. And that's why we need to make sure that the users on the recipient side are very well versed in handling these kinds of attacks as they go on, because they look very innocent, and it's basically a lot of these attacks are successful due to us not being aware. But to reiterate and go to the summary, we did find all the victims, and we were able to inform everyone hit. We did uncover the techniques used to avoid the detection, and we were amazed at how simple this attack actually was construed. We did find a clue to the identity of the hackers and gave that over to the law enforcement as well. We have access to the infrastructure they used, and all information has been passed on to the relevant law enforcement authorities wherever this was ongoing, so that we could have this shut down. Now, very simple attack, Very simple research and analysis, but there's a lot of stuff going on back there. And me translating this up is quite simpler than the presentation I got from the tech guys, by the way. But how do we avoid this? Well, some key points of advice here is, whenever your email is publicly visible, and that could be on your corporate webpage, it could be in a forum, it could be, I don't know, wherever it could be. There are hackers that can lift these emails from these websites into a database and exploit it. So if you go to your corporate website and you see that in the finance department, we know these and that person and this and this email, and it's not listed in the correct way, well, then you are setting yourself up to be targeted. And to point one, I can tell you I updated my phone's operating system just the other day, and my phone now proceeds to scare me. It's telling me now, for some reason, that I'm featuring in 8 data leakages. So I use different emails for various stuff, but those data leakages are from my consumer profile behavior. But still, I get consumer emails on my personal email account, and I get corporate emails on the other email account. What happens if I'm one day very tired and not had enough coffee or whatever? Do I click something and do I keep that separate? But I so far figured out that my phone knows that I have data out there in 8 leakages. I don't know how Apple knows that, but it's something I'm going to be reading about. You always need to check the email headers of something that comes in, especially from these suspected phishing attacks. You know, the profile of the attackers is typically in those sectors that are the IRS, the tax, Skatteetaten, or Danish Skat, or you know it's GLS or PostNord or something like that. If you have these out, you want no more than be spam or phishing. Check the email headers. Be sure that you do that, and never train your staff to never access websites via links in emails. Well, I use links in emails every day with my business partners and my customers, from a trusted source to another trusted source. Also, when I get emails with business links in them, I could sometimes click those links if it's a trusted source. But most times I will go into my browser and I will type in the domain and the subpage, etc. I won't click the direct link because it could hide some HTML code behind the link that I'm not seeing because I'm not opening and looking for everything in the mail. So good advice can be to train your staff to make sure that they do not access the websites via links in emails. Of course, you should never reply to spam email unless you work as an IT security specialist. It can be very entertaining to reply to spam emails as an IT security specialist because you can get into some very funny conversations with the hackers. But sorry, but they're very clever, and your regular user should never be replying to spam emails at all. You should also use an advanced spam filtering solution. So as you saw here, it got by a lot of different spam filtering solutions. It got by some of the spam filtering solutions that told us that we use heuristics and all kinds of other stuff. And you should still have them because it will take the bulk of the blow. Another thing is to make sure that you have an infrastructure that has DNS traffic filtering in your environment. And you might go, yeah, that makes sense. All right. But it should always be in there because it will block off suspicious or known malicious infrastructure from being accessed if your users happen to access the websites via links in the emails. You should also make sure that your team, and by that I mean your users, are always well informed and up to date on the IT security front. So a speak like this one should be something that can be boiled down, let's say, on the blog of Heimdal. We happily share those with customers, and we have customers that happily share those with their end users, to make sure that the end users have some sort of regular common exposure to what is going on in the threat space. Because the knowledge and the awareness, as I'm sure you will all know, awareness training is a very, very big part of the key. You can use technology from here till the sun sets, and it is never better than the uneducated users' behavior on the internet. So that was the brief walkthrough. I hope that it gave you some insights and some thoughtful moments there. And I have only appendix slides, which are basically about the solutions that we have, and I'm not sure that's all to the point here. So I hope that this session was useful, and I'm looking forward. All right. I see we have